Little girl tells a billionaire, "My mom has a ring just like yours." His reaction shocks everyone. Sebastian King is always referred to by the world as a symbol of power. He is not just a billionaire, but a true dominator in the business world. With a financial empire spanning the continent, he controls the market with a cold hand and absolute rationality. His decisions are quick, sharp, leaving no room for hesitation or personal emotions. Love, for him, does not exist, or rather, it used to exist. 7 years ago, Emily Carter, the only woman he ever loved, suddenly vanished without a trace, leaving a deep void in his heart. She left no farewell, no signs beforehand, just like a gust of wind evaporating from his life. And since then, Sebastian no longer believed in anything other than money and power. But fate always has a way of pulling people back to the past they try to forget. That evening, as the light rain fell sporadically on the streets of downtown New York, Sebastian paused in front of an upscale jewelry store. A store that, according to his reason, he had no reason to step into, but something invisible held him back. The glass door reflects his tall, strong figure, clad in a perfectly tailored black suit. But his gaze suddenly stopped on something that made his heart skip a beat: a diamond ring. Not just any ring, but the one designed exactly like the one he gave to Emily 7 years ago. Sebastian walked in, each step slow but steady. The jewelry store manager smiled professionally when he saw a customer whose mere glance was enough to recognize his tremendous purchasing power. "Do you like this ring, sir?" Sebastian did not respond. His finger lightly touched the surface of the stone, the cold sensation from the diamond spreading as if pulling him back to the past. Emily once held his hand, her eyes sparkling as he slipped that ring onto her finger. "This ring belongs to us, Sebastian. It will forever be a testament to our love." But then she left. No explanation, no farewell. The emotions that had been suppressed for years suddenly surged up, but at that moment a small voice rang out right beside him. "My mom also has a ring like that." Sebastian was startled. He turned back. In front of him was a girl about 6 or 7 years old, with bright, sparkling amber eyes. The eyes were hauntingly familiar. The little girl's tiny hand pointed at the ring in the display case. "This ring is so beautiful. But my mom said hers is even more beautiful because it was a gift from my dad." The atmosphere in the store was like ice. Sebastian stood still. All his senses seemed paralyzed. His heart raced. He opened his mouth but couldn't utter a word. "My mom also has a ring like that?" "This ring is one of a kind. It was designed just for Emily." Sebastian bent down, his voice unconsciously softening in a way he himself didn't even realize. "You said your mother also has this ring?" The girl nodded firmly. Sebastian felt like a violent storm was raging in his mind. "Emily is still alive?" Sebastian had never felt so out of control as he did at that moment. The girl in front of him had eyes just like Emily's. Every feature on her face, every innocent gesture, all of it like a small version of the woman he once loved. Could it be? The little girl took his hand, her eyes shining brightly. "My mom is over there. Can you let me meet your mother?" Sebastian stood still, each heartbeat feeling like it was being squeezed by someone. And then the little girl turned around, waved her hand, and called out, "Mom, come here." Time seemed to stand still. Sebastian looked up, and he saw her, Emily, the woman he has been searching for over the past 7 years. She stood just a few meters away from him, but that distance felt like an endless abyss. Emily also stood still. Her eyes widened when she recognized the man in front of her. Her face was pale. Her hand tightened slightly up, as if wanting to hold on to something she couldn't control. Sebastian felt like his whole world was collapsing. She is still alive. Not only that, she also has a child. A child with his eyes. Tim Sebastian tightened up, feeling as if someone had dealt him a blow so hard that he couldn't breathe. Emily trembled and took a step back, but Sebastian wouldn't let her escape again. In that moment, 7 years of separation vanished. Only two people remain. One still in love, the other with too many untold secrets, and a question so tense it hung in the air between them. Sebastian looked deep into Emily's eyes, his voice low but sharp as a knife. "Is it my child, right?" The jewelry store suddenly became eerily silent. No one said a word, but the atmosphere between Sebastian and Emily was so tense that even a light touch could shatter everything. Emily stood frozen, each breath labored. She couldn't believe it. After 7 years of running away, 7 years of trying to bury the past, 7 years of living a different life, yet fate still brought them back together. Sebastian stepped forward, each slow step carrying the weight of 7 years of pain and repression. His eyes were icy, but deep within them a storm was brewing. Emily couldn't take her eyes off him. Sebastian is still the same as ever, only now he looks more dangerous, stronger, and more solitary than ever. She didn't need to ask to know that the past 7 years had changed him, just as they had changed her. But what made her panic the most was not his presence, but it is the truth that she has hidden for the past 7 years. Mia. Mia blinked her big round eyes, looked at her mother, then at Sebastian, still not understanding what was happening. The little girl gently tugged at Emily's sleeve, her innocent voice breaking the heavy atmosphere. "Mom, do you know him?" Emily froze. Sebastian clenched his fist tightly, feeling his breath catch in his throat. He looked at the girl, looked very closely. The bright, sparkling eyes, the familiar amber color. The features on the small face are too similar to someone. It's him. Sebastian took a deep breath, keeping his voice low but unable to hide the tremor within. "Mia, how old are you?" The little girl tilted her head and answered cheerfully without hesitation. "He's 7 years old, but he'll be 8 soon." Sebastian's entire world suddenly collapsed. 7 years old. 7 years. Around the time Emily disappeared, Sebastian felt his whole body paralyzed. His heart was pounding in his chest as if screaming with a truth he didn't want to believe. No way. It can't be a coincidence like that. He looked up, his gaze sharp and painful like a knife piercing straight into Emily. "Is it your child, right?" Sebastian's voice was no longer cold. It was deep, full of hurt, like an old wound being torn open. Emily trembled. Every cell in her wanted to run away, but this time, she knew there was no way to escape anymore. She can't lie, cannot look into Sebastian's eyes and deny the truth. Emily's hand tightened, her nails almost piercing her skin. "Sebastian." Her voice was so soft that it almost melted into the air. Her silence is the clearest answer. Sebastian felt his entire world shatter. He took a step back, as if he had been punched hard in the chest. For 7 years, he has searched for her, hated her, tried to forget her, but he never thought that she had taken their child and disappeared. He has a child that you are completely unaware of. His anger erupted so intensely that the entire surrounding space seemed to tremble. Why? His voice was hoarse, filled with pain and anger. "Why did you leave without saying anything to me?" Emily closed her eyes tightly, feeling guilt weigh heavily on her chest. She knew this moment would come, but she had never been ready to face it. She didn't answer, just bowed her head, her hand gently grasping Mia's small hand, as if wanting to protect her daughter from the approaching storm. But Sebastian wouldn't let her stay silent anymore. He stepped forward, his voice sharp as a knife. "Say it, Emily!" "You owe me an explanation." Emily squeezed Mia's hand tightly, trying to control her breathing. She has kept this secret for 7 years, but now the truth can no longer be hidden. Her heart trembled, because this time she is not only facing Sebastian, but also confronting her own past. The surrounding space seemed to freeze. The jewelry store, the sparkling lights on the diamonds, the stream of people passing by outside the glass window, everything faded into insignificance before the emotional storm brewing between Sebastian and Emily. He looked at her, his deep, wounded eyes waiting for an explanation. Emily trembled slightly. She had kept this secret for too long, and now, standing before Sebastian's gaze, the man she had never stopped loving, she knew she could no longer hide. Her hand tightly grasped Mia's tiny hand, as if gathering the courage to speak the truth. She took a deep breath. "Sebastian," her voice was soft, but it contained immense pain. "I didn't leave you because I wanted to. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you." Sebastian stopped short, as if he had just been punched in the chest. His gaze became colder. "So why?" Emily looked up, facing him. "Because if she doesn't say it today, she will never have the chance to say it again. Because your father forced me to leave." A shockwave swept through Sebastian's eyes. "What?" His voice dropped to a dangerous level, as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. Emily nodded, her eyes brimming with tears. "Your father came to see me. He said that you can't have a woman like me by your side, that you would ruin his future. But it doesn't stop there." She swallowed hard, her voice choked. He threatened that, if you don't leave, he will take Mia away from you. Sebastian froze. His entire world seemed to be pulled out of control. Emily's words echoed in his mind, each word like a sharp knife, cutting deep into his heart that had been frozen for 7 years. You said your father threatened you? Emily nodded, tears silently rolling down her cheeks. He said that if you don't disappear, he will use his power to make your life a living hell. He can do anything to gain custody, to take Mia away from you, and I knew if he wanted to do it, he would be able to. Sebastian felt as if he had just been stabbed in the chest. Why? Why don't you know anything about this? For 7 years, he has lived in resentment, in unanswered questions. He thought that Emily had betrayed him, thought that she had abandoned him mercilessly. But in reality, she was forced to leave him by his own father. He clenched his fist tightly, feeling the anger burning in his chest. So why? Why didn't you say anything to me? His voice was hoarse, his eyes full of pain. Emily shook her head, tears falling down her cheeks. At that time, I couldn't take the risk. I have to protect my child. Those words were like a deep cut into Sebastian's soul. Protect the child. She bore it all alone, faced her fears, ran away from his life just to protect Mia. Sebastian felt his heart tighten. You should have known. You were supposed to protect her. Mia still stood there, her tiny hands still gripping her mother's hand tightly. Although she was still young, the little girl sensed that something was wrong. Why is Mom crying? Why does he, the man with eyes like mine, look so miserable? The little girl looked up, her clear eyes searching for an answer. And then a question burst out of the little girl's mouth, incredibly simple, yet shattering the atmosphere. That man, is he your father? Emily froze. Sebastian was stunned. The space feels like it's shattering. Emily couldn't breathe. She has been afraid of this moment for 7 years. Sebastian looked at her, his eyes filled with emotion, anger, hurt, and even a glimmer of hope. Emily didn't know what to do. Mia still looked at her mother, waiting for an answer. Can't avoid it anymore. I can't keep this secret for another second. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked at Mia, then at Sebastian, and she opened her mouth. The secret has been exposed. Everything will never be the same again. Sebastian is not someone who gets easily shocked. He had faced billion-dollar deals, controlled massive corporations, and defeated the strongest competitors in the market. But at this moment, standing in front of Emily and Mia, he felt more helpless than ever. 7 years. 7 years passed without him knowing he had a child. The anger is still there, but above all, he feels a deep sorrow. He couldn't accept the truth that he had missed so many years in his daughter's life. I won't let that continue. Sebastian wants Mia to know that he is the girl's father. He wants to make up for it, not with money, not with power, but with the time and love he has missed for the past 7 years. But the question is, how to get started. He could conquer the whole world, but the heart of a 7-year-old child? That's a completely different challenge. For the first time in his life, Sebastian is learning how to be a father. He is no longer the cold CEO. Now he is just a man trying to win back his daughter's love. In the early days, Mia was still hesitant. The girl was not used to Sebastian's presence, did not understand why her mother suddenly seemed sadder or why this man cared so much about her. But very quickly, Sebastian proved that he was ready to learn. That day, the sun was shining gently and the air was fresh. Emily was still hesitant, but in the end, she let Sebastian take Mia to the nearby park. For the first time in his life, Sebastian didn't know what to do. He is not the kind of person who can enjoy children's games, but when Mia giggled and jumped around, when she excitedly pulled him to the slide, he realized this was a world he had never stepped into, and he wants to be in that world. Mia slowly opened her heart. When Sebastian helped the little girl win the fishing game, when he let her sit on his shoulders to see the entire park, Mia smiled at him for the first time. That smile made his heart ache. This is your daughter, a part of you, and he can't lose the girl one more time. Sebastian always thought that money could buy everything, so one time when he went to the toy store, he bought Mia a really big teddy bear, an extravagant gift. But when Mia received it, she just smiled lightly. Then the little girl tightly hugged the old teddy bear that Emily had given her a long time ago. Sebastian paused, for the first time in his life, realizing that there are things that cannot be replaced with money. He looked at Mia hugging the old teddy bear and realized that true love is not material value, but memories, emotions, and what is nurtured from the heart. Emily watched from afar, witnessing Sebastian and Mia gradually becoming closer. At first, she thought it would take Mia a long time to accept Sebastian. But no, she was wrong. Mia has laughed more, has been happier. The little girl no longer asked why she didn't have a dad, because now Sebastian was there. That made Emily's heart flutter. She began to wonder, did she make a mistake by leaving Sebastian? Have the past 7 years been spent avoiding something she should have fought to keep? But just when her heart began to soften, another secret has emerged. Emily has never told Sebastian the whole truth. Yes, your father threatened her, but that wasn't the only reason she left you. There is a deep secret that she has never dared to tell anyone. She fell seriously ill after giving birth to Mia. After giving birth to Mia, Emily's health deteriorated severely. She experienced a rare complication, leading the doctors to diagnose that she might not live long, and she had prepared for death. That's why she didn't dare to keep Sebastian. She didn't want him to witness her gradually weakening, didn't want him to endure the pain of loss. She accepted to leave him so he could live a life unbound by a dying woman. But a miracle happened. She survived. Somehow her body fought against the illness, and she gradually got better. But by then, it was too late to turn back. Sebastian was no longer there. She believed that he had forgotten her, so she continued to live, continued to evade, and now that secret is about to be exposed. Sebastian has started to piece together the fragments of his life. I have my daughter back. I'm gradually getting Emily back. But when the truth is finally revealed, will you forgive, or will everything fall apart once again? Sebastian couldn't take it anymore. 7 years. For 7 years, he had tortured himself, living in resentment, in questions without answers. He thought that Emily had betrayed him, had left him without any explanation. But now, he knows the truth. And that truth led him to one person only, his ruthless father. Late at night, Sebastian stepped into the luxurious mansion of the King family, where his father, Richard King, still lived in a world of power and control. Richard sat on the expensive leather chair, his face showing no hint of remorse as he looked at his son standing in front of him. Finally, you have arrived, he said with a faint smile, pouring a glass of wine. Sebastian clenched his fist. You know why I'm here. Richard sighed and set down his glass. Son, if you came here to blame me for Emily's situation, then don't waste your time. I only do what is necessary to protect your future. The fire of anger ignited within Sebastian. He clenched his jaw, his voice as cold as ice. Protecting my future? By ruining my life? By threatening the woman I love, forcing her to leave, and making me lose 7 years with my daughter? Richard raised an eyebrow, but his expression showed no sign of remorse. You will thank me later. If Emily hadn't left, you wouldn't have become the man you are today. You would be bound to a mundane life, and you would lose everything that I have built for you. Sebastian laughed, but not a joyful laugh. All that you have built for me? You mean money, power, fame? He shook his head, his gaze sharp. You are wrong, father. The only thing I want, the only thing that matters, is Emily and Mia. Richard hesitated. Sebastian approached, his voice confident, no longer the obedient son he could manipulate. I didn't come here to ask for permission. I came here to tell you that you have lost. Richard squinted. Defeated? What are you talking about? Sebastian took a deep breath, then looked straight into his father's eyes. I will not let you control my life for another second. You will never touch Emily or Mia again. He will disappear from our lives, or I will ensure that his entire empire collapses. Richard was silent. For the first time in his life, he realized that his son had changed. Sebastian is no longer a man chasing the power he once molded. I have found something more important. And this time, Richard King no longer has control. Emily knows that she has a choice. She can do what she did 7 years ago, leave. She can run away to avoid the pain, to protect her heart from things she once thought were irreparable. But she also has another option, a choice that for the first time in 7 years she truly dared to consider. Stay. Emily stood on the balcony, looking down at the courtyard where Sebastian and Mia were playing. Mia is smiling happily, her bright eyes sparkling as if her entire world has become complete. Sebastian is lifting Mia up, spinning her in the air, and she keeps giggling. Emily felt her heart tighten. Sebastian has changed. He is no longer the cold man who only knows about work. He has become a father, someone ready to do anything to protect this family. Can you trust me one more time? Can you love him one more time? Can you choose to stay? That night, Sebastian sat on the sofa, Mia resting her head on his chest, hugging her old teddy bear. Emily walked in and saw the scene, her heart shattered. Mia whispered, her voice soft but carrying absolute innocence. Don't go anywhere else, okay? Sebastian was speechless. He felt something inside him shatter, a wall he had built within himself over the years, completely collapsing. He held Mia tightly in his arms, then kissed her forehead. Dad won't go anywhere, he whispered, his voice as firm as a vow. Emily burst into tears. She knows she no longer has to choose. She has found the answer. She stepped forward, tightly embracing Sebastian and Mia, merging them into one. No more past, no more distance, just a family finally complete. Sebastian fought for his love. Emily has regained her confidence. Mia had a complete family, and this time, no one has to leave anymore. Time passes, but this time, no one has to miss anything anymore. Sebastian, Emily, and Mia gradually learn how to become a real family. No more distances, no more hidden secrets, only love and healing. Sebastian used to think that work was everything, that career and power were what defined him. But now everything has changed. Now every day he wakes up not just to dive into billion-dollar deals, but to hear his daughter's laughter, to see Emily smiling beside him, to hold on to the happiness he once lost. They are rebuilding their lives together. Mia officially moved in with Sebastian and Emily in a small, bright room filled with her favorite stuffed animals. Sebastian is learning how to be a father, from taking Mia to school, sitting and listening to her endless stories, to learning how to make pancakes in the morning, even though the first attempt was a bit of a failure. Emily opened her heart completely to Sebastian, no longer holding back the reservations of the past. For the first time in 7 years, she allowed herself to fully trust him again. And then, on a sunny day, the moment Sebastian had always been waiting for finally arrived. That day, the three of them went to the park together. Mia ran ahead, holding Sebastian's hand tightly. Dad! Run faster. Sebastian hesitated. He couldn't believe his ears. Mia just called him Dad. Not Uncle Sebastian, not that guy, but Dad. Emily stood beside him, quietly smiling as she saw the emotion in Sebastian's eyes. Sebastian doesn't need anything else in this world. He bent down, hugged Mia tightly, feeling the small body of his daughter in his arms, and whispered, Dad is here, Mia. Dad will always be here. That evening, when Mia was sound asleep in Emily's arms, Sebastian sat beside them, looking at the two people he loved the most. He knows he is ready. No more past blocking the way. No more shadows separating us. There is only one family that he wants to keep forever. Sebastian stood up, took a small ring box out of his pocket. He knelt before Emily, just like 7 years ago, but this time there was no pain between them anymore. Emily blinked, her heart fluttering slightly when she saw the sparkling diamond ring in his hand. Emily Carter, Sebastian smiled lightly, no longer any hesitation in his eyes. The last time I proposed to you, but I lost you. He took a deep breath, his eyes filled with sincerity. But this time I won't let you leave. Be my wife, Emily? Let's really start over from the beginning. Tears silently fell on Emily's cheek. She is no longer afraid. You don't need to run away anymore. She has found the love she thought she had lost forever. She has had her answer for a long time. Emily nodded, her voice overflowing with happiness. Yes, I agree. Sebastian smiled brightly. For the first time in a long while, his heart was truly filled with complete joy. He held Emily tightly, kissed her hair, and knew that he would never let her go again. Everything that Sebastian once thought he didn't need, love, family, warmth, is now the only thing he wants to hold on to forever. No more old wounds, no more secrets, no more wrong choices. Only a small family remains, moving forward together, leaving no one behind anymore, and this time happiness will be forever.